and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Accounting Educator. I'm Safir Ahmed, a senior lecturer in accounting and finance in a UK university. I also work with ACCA as an early career ambassador. This video is relevant to you if you're studying, preparing financial statements, financial accounting as part of your AAT level 3. I'm going to cover task 6, which is from incomplete records. Now, in practice, that this can happen, that where a client comes to you and say to you, well, I do not have all of the records, but this is the records I have. So I know my sales, but I don't know my cash, for example, the total cash for the year. Or if they say that I do not know the value of the closing inventory, for example, because some of the inventory was lost, let's suppose, or I did not keep receipts for these sales. So I don't know how much sales, total sales was, the value of the total sales was, but I know that from my bank statement, this is the money I received as well. So at times, some clients might come to you and ask you this. So what we do as an accountant, as a bookkeeper, that we will be using some techniques to derive that information from the information given to us. So there are some techniques, things like, for example, control accounts. We might have to prepare purchase ledger control account, and as a balancing figure, we can calculate something. So let's suppose purchase return, we don't know, but as a balancing figure, if we know the opening and closing balance, and if we know some of the other items as part of the purchase ledger control account, the balancing figure, we can calculate it. Similarly, from the sales ledger control account or the receivable ledger control account, as a balancing figure, we can calculate something as well. And sometimes we use markup and margin, profit margin, to calculate value of sales or cost of sales or the gross profit as well. And we can use, again, VAT control account to work out how much VAT is payable to HMRC, which is from the VAT account. It is also known as our VAT control account. So on the basis of that, traders, businesses, they prepare their VAT return as well, which they submitted to HMRC, of course. Okay, so those are some of the techniques, but there are others as well. So I thought just to talk about those techniques first of all. So right at the top of the task, they always tell you that this task is about this topic. So as you can see, identify which one of the following is most likely to be the closing balance on the trade receivable account. Now, in majority of the questions, they don't use the word most likely. But when they use the word most likely, what does it mean is it's not going to be exact figure, but it's going to be the nearest figure. Okay, so they're giving us the annual sales, and the annual sales is 102,320, and on average, it takes customers 1 month to pay. So what does that mean? That the 1 month's worth of sales will be outstanding as receivables. Okay, so you can calculate the 1 month's worth of sales, of course. So 102,320 divided by 12, that's 1 month worth of sales, which give me 88526. And nearest figure to that is, of course, this one. Okay. Now, please be mindful, if they give you the weekly amounts, so let's suppose that 6 weeks, it takes 6 weeks to get the money. So which means that at the year end, it will be the 6 weeks amount, or 6 weeks sales will be outstanding. So in that case, then you need to divide it by number of weeks in a year, which is 52, and then times by 6 weeks. So please be mindful whether they're given you in the monthly month figures or monthly figures, or are they asking you what is outstanding in terms of weeks. So if it is in terms of weeks, divided by 52. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, next part of this question, which is referring to your response for part A. you have just printed an 8 receivable list of the accounting software, which totals 55,750. Now remember the based on the first one, which is nearest figure, likely figure, if that makes sense. Okay, so identify which of the following actions should be taken. Now check the accounting software for error and investigate whether there has been any reason for any unusual balance. Of course, that's the wise thing to do. Report the figure that is produced by the accounting software. No, we need to check everything. And then, of course, we investigate if there is any unusual balances and all of that, just to make sure that everything is accurate. Okay, report figure that you have calculated as it looks more reasonable. Again, that's not true because it's most likely that that's the word that we have a problem with. If the gross profit is calculated as percentage of revenue, now remember that if the gross profit is calculated as percentage of cost of sales, that's your markup. And if the gross profit is calculated as percentage of revenue or sales, that's your profit margin. That's your margin here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So now they have given us quite a lot of information here. You're working on the accounts of James and Ajay, who owns a business selling customized cupcakes to organizations. You have received the following information relating to the financial year ended 30th of June 2019. All sales are subject to VAT at 20%. So they've given us the day books, which are book of prime entry, and then opening and closing balances of trade receivables and trade payables. And they also given us bank summary. Now, this is a classic question from incomplete records. So if anything from incomplete records, this is quite common one that which is tested. But it doesn't mean that another style of the question cannot be tested. Of course, it can be tested as well. Now, using the information supplied, find the missing purchase return figures by preparing the payables ledger control account. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that this is quite common that they give you. So by using the rest of the amounts given to us, that we will be able to find the missing figure. So missing figure they are asking us to calculate is the purchase return. Now, purchase return as it goes on here anyway. So what we have been given, first of all, so let's have a look. So as you can see, trade payables, we've been given opening and closing balance. So we'll be recording that first. Now the opening balance, which is the balance brought down for purchase ledger control account, goes on credit side. Why? Because it's a liability account, remember? Okay, so this will be your balance brought down. And what's balance brought down are the opening balances. So as you can see, that's 10,281. Okay, and we've been given the closing balance as well, which is, remember, on the other side. This will be your balance carried down. And again, the amount is given to us, which is 15,482. Okay, now we also know that we've been given the day book summary. And remember the purchases figure, it increases over liability. So it increases the payables ledger control account balance. And also please be mindful that whatever goes in these control account is always total amount. So it will be 194,160 for purchases. Okay, so we have recorded the purchases amount there as well. And then we've been given bank summary. So which, as you can see, trade payables. So this is the amount that which has been paid to the suppliers. So which is 187,129. And that goes on the debit side because of decrease in liability. So here it will be bank. And the amount was 187,129. So now, as you can see, that the difference will be your purchase return. So the difference between these two, of course, the 204,441 minus 202,611, which gives you 1830. Okay, so we have calculated the purchase return as a balancing amount. Now, using the information supplied and your answer to B, find the closing balance on the VAT control account. So the purchase return, now remember that this purchase return 1830, this is anything that which is part of your control account in this purchase ledger control account and sales ledger control account. These are your gross amounts. These are your total amounts. So remember that how you calculate VAT on gross amount, which is 1830 divided by 6, which gives you 305. There we go. And then all of the other VATs we will be including there. So as you can see, VAT on sales, 48,560. That will go on credit side of the VAT control account. Why? Because it's a liability, increasing liability credit. Sorry, I'm just looking for the sales day book, which is all the way down there. Okay, and the amount for that was 48,560, the VAT figure. There we go. And then in the purchase day book, again, the VAT is given to us as well there. Why it is on debit side? Because remember, this is the asset for the business. So they are going to claim it back, in other words, or it will reduce the liability as well in that sense. Okay, so what's the amount for that? 32,360. There we go. Now, what else we have? Let's have a look. Okay. So we have payroll expenses, no VAT on that. That's fine. Then we have HMRC VAT. So this is, of course, in the bank summary payment side. So this is the amount paid to HMRC. And this will go on debit side. Why? Because it reduces the liability. And the amount for that is 22,708. Okay, so that's that. Okay, trade receivables. We do have cash sales as well here. Okay. And remember that on cash sales, there is VAT as well. Okay. And again, what we receive from cash sales is inclusive of VAT. So therefore, in order to calculate VAT on that, it will be 30,600 divided by 6, which is going to go on the credit side as well. Cash sales. And the amount for that is 5,100. And how I calculated that? Again, on the cash sales, from the bank summary, 30,600 divided by 6. Or in other words, 30,600 times by 20 divided by 120, because this is 120% figure. Okay, and Is there any cash purchases? I cannot see any. So I think we have included all of the amounts which we were supposed to include. Let me double check. Is there anything else? Okay, VAT, remember on drawings, there is no VAT on drawings. Drawings is outside the scope of VAT. Okay. HMRC VAT we already included. Payroll expenses, they already specifically said to us, there is no VAT on that. Okay, so now we can calculate the balance carried down figure. So which will be the difference between the two. So 69,251 minus 55,068, which gives us 14,183. Okay, thank you for listening. Bye for now. It's not a game.